Separating the messenger from the message, I think, is the most revolutionary thing you can do as far as raising social awareness. A lot of times what we do is we project onto certain individuals and put them on a pedestal. We give them gratification, power, and control. And in turn, we become subservient and lack the power and the ability to move upwards in the evolutionary scale of higher awareness. We become fans, groupies, instead of recognizing that in the eyes of cosmic love, we are all one. We're a bridge, not a barrier. It equalizes everything. Which means in indifferentiated oneness, nothing stands out. It shouldn't be personal. You shouldn't add yourself into the equation, talking about me and my story, because what it does is it allows people to move from their own centeredness and start projecting outwards to another individual, which creates comparison, competition, judgments. You may judge the other person as more evolved or better than you. You will never go beyond where they are if you still hold on to that paradigm of master, disciple, leader, and follower. This only creates a split, a codependent relationship that not only feeds their spiritual egos, but it nourishes your own. We buy into the notion that these self-proclaimed enlightened masters are supposed to appear a certain way. They're supposed to dress a certain way. They should have a story to tell or a large following to give them some sense of credibility or validation. You can either be a follower or try to imitate the way they were successful in amassing a certain amount of power and wealth. Most do not teach by way of example. They haven't died to their personal self and became empty. They simply just upgraded to an evolved or enlightened person. So you have to be very, very careful about these people that you see advertised. It is only when they have died into the message and became a living flame of the truth where it becomes easier to mirror that. A pure version they become is when there is less of themselves, which means they are not parading their narrative. They're not name-dropping people that they know that have become popular or have significance. A lot of times what these charismatic spiritual teachers is start talking about who they've learned from, or start name-dropping people throughout history. These are all tricks so that you subconsciously associate that individual with what you consider great spiritual leaders throughout history because they lured you in with the bait. So all of a sudden now when you think of Moses, Buddha, Christ, Shankara, or all these individuals, we have put them in association with that, as though they are their successors. They're from the same lineage. You don't know that you've been had. People fall for that trick every time. Sometimes you'll have so-called spiritual teachers connecting with celebrities, and that in turn helps them for more exposure, more book sales, fame, to have more people talk about them. This is why they can overcharge a tremendous amount of money for the teachings that they themselves have learned. You've learned something, but now you're going to use what you've learned for monetary gain. Spiritual wisdom or information doesn't belong to anybody. Nobody has the monopoly over it. Nobody can put their name right beside spiritual truths as though it's theirs. No one could plant their flag on the soil because there's nothing new under the sun. This is why it's so important to be empty, to be selfless. So when you're bringing these truths out, you're not in the way. You're not a distraction or a deflection from the truth. The pathless path to the self. When you come into source, there are no images, no names, no address, no personal story. There's just pointings to the truth. And that's fine, but you will not see the one who's pointing. Then you will miss. This is why it's important to kill the Buddha on the road. Anything that comes in your way of waking up to the truth should be slain. Lop off the heads of all beings that come in the way of the truth. And I mean that symbolically, metaphorically, as in all the images that you see out there, do not give them power. Use them as permission slips. Do not look to them as above and beyond yourself. For they are yourself.